Hello, I'm Valerie Biden Owens, chair of the Biden Institute at the University of Delaware. Today, I have the privilege of introducing Representative Adam Kinzinger, who represented the state of Illinois from 2011 to 2023. Now he's a lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard, a senior political commentator on CNN, and an author of Renegade, Defending Democracy and Liberty in Our Divided Country. Thank you, sir, for joining us on this episode of All Politics is Personal, a program where we introduce the public to the person behind the politician. Anyone can research your policies and accomplishments, but that's not what we are here today to talk about. We're here to talk about you. So tell us, if you will, about your life. So let's start at the beginning.
It was a great childhood. It was about 3 years we lived in Jacksonville, Florida, but for the most part, Illinois, the Midwest. It's exactly like you think of the Midwest, right? Everybody's cool. It gets cold in the winter. You play outside all the time, and I loved it. You know, I had a great childhood. When I was 1 year old, 1 years old, however you say it, I actually got really bad pneumonia, and they ended up. I go to the hospital. And it ended up being viral and bacterial. But for a period of about, a month or so, I actually lived in a plastic bubble. And I was a bubble boy. And
Don't you feel like that's kind of the way it is today?
it feels like that today.
A
Yeah,
little bit.
absolutely.
We live in a
Absolutely.
bubble?
Yes, we do. But at 6 years old, I started to get interested in politics weirdly. My mom is a public school teacher. My dad ran homeless shelters growing up, all focused on trying to get people, out in a better place. And so I'd say, everybody probably says this, but a really idyllic childhood. I enjoyed it. I was a little rebellious, though, but, it was good.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have an older brother, an older sister. My sister is 9 years older, depends on what time of the year it is. My brother's 5 years older.
So you're the baby.
I'm the baby.
Baby boy. Oh, you can spot you baby boys a mile away.
My wife's the youngest, too, so
That should.
we have to work through that sometimes.
Okay. So what about school? What did you go to the public high school?
I did. I went to public school, public high school, and then I went to Illinois State University. I would say in school, I struggled with what a lot of kids struggle with, which is trying to figure out who you are, trying to belong. I went through a really rebellious streak probably my junior year in high school, actually into college, because I thought the best way to be cool was to drink or something like that.
I was going to ask you what's rebellious from in your background.
A little drinking when you're not supposed to be. I thought that was a way to just feel like you belonged to people and that you could belong. So there was a real struggle with identity. Generally, I would say high school was great. Toughest time in my life, and I think in probably a lot of people's lives, was junior high. And I don't necessarily know why in comparison to anything else. Maybe it's you're in this new environment where, men are now kind of competing, women are competing. That was a rough time, but I got through it.
And it's superbly well evident. When you were in high school, were you, a little bit rebellious, but are you a teacher's pet, or are you in student government, or are you a class clown? What sports jock? What were you?
So it depends what time in high school you would ask me. So at the beginning, I was kind of openly into politics, right? I was openly exploring student government. I served in student government in junior high. But it was during that struggle where I'm like, you know what? Politics when you're in high school doesn't feel cool. So I pretended like I didn't care about it anymore. I would say I was a little bit of a teacher's pet in classes I liked. It's interesting now because most of my teachers remember me from school, and that's like 30 years ago. And so some of them have good memories, some have memories of me being a little rebellious, but I think I kind of went with the flow depending on who I was around.
When you talk about politics in high school, were they internal politics to the school, or are you talking about you really cared about saving the world or doing something different in the world?
I enjoyed kind of the inside politics in school, but it was all about like what's going on out in the world. Whatever presidential election was going on, whatever the issues were, whatever. I remember when Desert Storm happened, that was very extreme interest to me. I think that probably launched my interest in foreign affairs and foreign policy. But yeah, it was like...
Did you volunteer in their local campaigns? Or
I did. And 12 years old, I was So the first campaign I was ever obsessed with, I was 6 years old, and it was because a guy named John Lewis, who was running for mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, a Democrat, had hot pink yard signs because it was the 80s and people had that. And for whatever reason, that fanfare like obsessed me and hooked me. And then at 12 years old, a guy named Jim Edgar, who was governor of Illinois, was running for re-election. And I think I was named the youngest Republican for Edgar, probably in the state among the GOP. That was a big deal to me. So yeah, I'd get involved in all those kinds of things and feel like a big deal.
Did your family, when your family did you have events like where your family all got together for going to church or going to the park, or did you have family meetings and family gatherings, or not?
Yeah, we would. So in my immediate family, I was raised Baptist. Now I just call myself Protestant non-denominational for many reasons. But we would go to church Sunday morning. Baptists go Sunday night too, sometimes on Wednesday. We would always do that. In the evening time, we'd mostly always eat dinner together, so that was always nice. On the broader family, so we had a pretty big family in the Illinois area. My family in the 1850s came from Germany and for whatever the reason decided to hop off the boat in the middle of Illinois, and so that's where we're all at. And we would do 4th of July, Thanksgiving every other year with the big family. And the funny thing about, I don't know if it's the Germans, if it's the Midwestern thing, but all the family would meet, let's say it's like noon on July 4th. You'd have a great time until about 3 p.m. and everybody leaves and goes home. Every family reunion was like an hour and a half long. So nobody in my family, except like my generation now, drinks. And so if you're not drinking at a family thing, I guess you can only last an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, especially on a Sunday, a warm afternoon. Mm-hmm. Did you, when you got together, like in our family, when we get together, which is a lot growing up, my mother told us that there's most important thing in the world, there's family, and then there's family, and then there's family. Mm-hmm. So I have 3 brothers. You know one of them. Mm-hmm. My other 2 are pretty nice guys too. Mm-hmm. And we were told that it was our responsibility to take care of each other and to I think it was John Kennedy who said, to those who are given much, much is expected. We weren't given much financially, but we were given a basis of faith and responsibility. And it's a Catholic schoolgirl and the nuns, who would, if Miss Biden got in trouble, my parents would hear about it first.
Wouldn't take long.
Yeah, but my parents always had different refrains, or my dad, your word is your bond. My mother, I don't care what all the other girls are doing, Valerie, you're not doing it. Did you have that in your family? Was there a constant thing you knew your parents were always going to say?
Yeah, so we did. I wish, and it's something I actually want to do with my family now.
Your little boy's Christian?
Yeah, he's 21 months old now.
Oh, so lucky duck.
He runs everywhere. All thrust, no vector. That's what I say. But I think it's important to stress very openly the importance of family. Like, I don't remember my parents necessarily saying, family is family, but family was very important to us. One of the things, though, that I remember them being very clear about was just the truth, telling the truth. When I did, and obviously there were many times I was not truthful to my parents, they always found out. And I realized pretty early on that when I would tell them the truth, yeah, you're still going to get in trouble. It's not like a free pass, but that ultimately you let that burden off your shoulder, and doing the right thing was a big deal. And so I would say it was a lot of truth and a lot of do the right thing, and frankly, be willing to stand up for the voiceless. Again, my mom, public school teacher, she'd have kids come through that were struggling. My father ran a homeless shelter. I mean, there's no way to give a bigger voice to somebody than through that.
Did he carry that with him? I mean, when you coming home from running a homeless shelter,
it's tough work.
That is really tough work.
Yeah,
I mean, he practices what he preaches.
He does. And, we'd get the side of it sometimes. It's like, I can't believe these people are doing this, or this thing happened, or whatever. But you could always see the compassion in him. I mean, my dad could have gone and made $1 million a year doing business somewhere, but he'd always had an interest in whether it was public policy or whether it was like nonprofit and helping people. And so, my first volunteer job and my first paid job was at the homeless shelter. That's, for a 16-year-old, that's a pretty kind of a tough introduction to the working world. And I loved
Well, the apple did not fall far from the tree.
it.
So, who? What would you say was your biggest motivation? Who or what? What propels you most?
It's a tough question. I think I've always had in this, and it's been ingrained since birth, this like desire to fight for a bigger cause or to fight for a mission. Look, I wouldn't mind making a gajillion dollars a year, but that's never been the thing that's driven me. I've never taken a job based on, okay, it's more money. It's always for me been, it's the military or it's county board. I was a county board member, or it's Congress. It's always been about that ability to have an impact. It's not truly entirely selfless. There's a lot of ego in politics. If you don't have ego, you're either lying or you're in the wrong business.
Well, in anything to be successful, there's
That's
an
true.
ego. You got to think as you can do the job, or you wouldn't jump in and do it.
That's right. That's right. And so, for whatever reason, that idea of fighting for a cause has always been, I think, the thing that still gets me out of bed, that still drives me. And even now that I've put Congress behind me, it's like I still find myself working on these issues I'm still passionate about.
So your first job was what I was going to ask you, but that was in the homeless shelter.
Yeah. I was working maintenance in the homeless shelter. And when I say maintenance, it makes it sound like I had a certain skill set that I actually didn't have. So I was mopping floors and cleaning bathrooms and that kind of stuff. And
Starting from the ground up, huh?
starting from the ground up. And then I got a great promotion and went and worked in. My dad started, so the mission used to just hand clothes away to people, and he actually started a thrift store with it, which had so many benefits. So I went and worked in the thrift store and eventually worked at Hardee's.
All right. Was there a switch? Again, you're civic minded. You're a social animal. You're not going to grow up and go to Wall Street and make a lot of money, which isn't a bad idea, but it wasn't for you. I wish one of my kids would do that because I want a room with a view. When we're finished.
I agree.
But what was there a moment? What came first, the military, your desire to go in and serve the country in the military, or your desire to go and serve in the elective political office?
Boy, I don't know if there was one that came first because it's all melded together to me. Like, since I was a kid, I always loved the idea of going into the Army, or I love aviation, so the idea of flying planes for the military. But this is where that lack of confidence came in, which is, I was always told you have to go to the Air Force Academy, you have to be great at math and science. And I never applied myself very well in school, so I never thought I could become a military pilot. So I put it aside. Obviously, I did become a military pilot. But it's the three jobs, I think, as a kid. It was like I wanted to be in law enforcement, or I wanted to be in the military, or I wanted to be in politics. I don't know which came first, but they're all related. And it's all about that kind of fighting for a bigger mission. So yeah, I would say probably very first would be politics, because I was 6 when I liked John Lewis's hot pink yard signs. But pretty quick after that, I was wearing Army stuff too.
As a point of personal privilege, as you say in the House, and as I've heard my brother say, I particularly love and admire that I know you went into the Air National Guard, and politics was also your love, and that's what my nephew, Bo Biden, was a great kid, but he had the same sense of duty. And it sounds so highfalutin, like I've got this duty. It was just, it's in you or not. You can't fake it.
That's right. And Bo is a great example of just selflessness. And it's what I try to tell, so it comes up a lot when I particularly had people, trying to apply for the academies, which we gave nominations for, or that would just come talk to me about the military. Always, inevitably, behind every face of somebody that's looking at the military is a mom that doesn't want them to go, right? And now it's a mom's decision, or dad, but generally it's the moms that are the most vocal. It's a mom's decision. Are you going to discourage this boy or girl or not? And look, it's important to have concerns. It's important to share them with your kids. But I always say I've never met anybody that wanted to go in the military that didn't do it, that doesn't regret it. And I've never met anybody that did go into the military that regrets it. So it's like the great thing about America is we only send our people to fight if we have to. We only send them for just and moral causes, even though we've made mistakes in the past. And when we send them with the best equipment, not just to make sure that the enemy can't do harm, but to make sure that if harm is done to them, they're protected and evacuated as quickly as possible. You can't say that about the Russian military or any other.
And what we have to say with even more certitude is when they come home, they're treated the way that they should be treated.
You know what? I have a particular kind of thanks for Vietnam veterans because of what they went through. When I came back from Iraq in 2009, I remember getting off the plane. So everybody thinks when you come out of war, there's like some Plinko set you go through and get deprogrammed. And I just remember coming out of Iraq to Qatar to Baltimore airport and coming off the plane, and there's like 200 people just lining the jetway, just applauding. And that's like, I get choked up every time I say that, because it's like, I know they were there all day. They don't remember me coming through that line, but it was important for them to show their appreciation to the troops. And we do that when somebody dies too. We don't ship a body home unescorted. And that's an important thing for soldiers, and it's an important thing for a country, because it shows our value of humanity and how we value our people.
Well, I grew up in Vietnam. All the guys in college who were my friends, and my brother and I, or how I dated, they all went over. They were in ROTC, and so they all went over as second lieutenants. And a lot of them did not come back or did not come back well. And they were so disparaged. And as you said, the people lining up for our last war, thank you for your service. But so I'm with you on supporting and working for the vets. And I know my again, personal, but that's Joe's right there. God bless him. What about faith? I mean, how much do you? I know you said you're a Baptist. I'm a Catholic. How central is that? When I say I was raised in a Catholic family, we didn't kneel down and pray every night. Thank God we only had to go to Mass 1 hour, 1 day a week in the morning.
Some of them go every day.
But how do you think that has molded you?
Faith is very important, and it's very important in laying out, for me, kind of principles to live by, compassion. And it's been really important in the last few years as I've seen, frankly, my faith being destroyed and being taken advantage of. So it's actually made me kind of double down in terms of what I believe as far as how to treat people. Because when I watch somebody come out and say that Christianity is all about one certain political party or the other, or it's all about this one issue or the other, that's completely antithetical to everything I ever believed. And I'm just coming to realize that. Coming to realize, what is it that I learned and what did it really mean? What does it mean when, Jesus says, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's? It means I'm not here to basically tell you who to vote for politically. Jesus doesn't care what the tax rates are, right? And so that, to me, has been important. And I think even this kind of latest step in my life and going out and talking about some of the things I learned in the house and other things is a focus on how people are being abused with that faith. And so it was always important to me, but it's become more important because I'm now starting to really understand what I learned and what I believe.
One of my mom's favorite statements were, beware the righteous on the left and the right.
That's so true.
And that's what we're looking at right now.
That's right.
You're out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
You think you'll ever go back in one of the houses?
If you'd asked me a few months ago, I'd be more apt to say no, just because the impact that the last couple of years in the House had on me with January 6th and the committee stuff, I've been able to now start to really take inventory of the impact that had. It was rough, and I don't want to hide that. And so I think I was at a place a few months ago of just I'm done, right? I'm done with this. But that's changing again. That energy is getting picked up again, and that excitement, and So I would certainly be open to getting back into politics again, or working in the government. Just not in the House. I don't have any desire to go back to the House.
Please don't be done. You know,
Thank
I
you.
mean, if we don't elect good men and women, you know, we don't deserve our democracy.
We don't. And you know what I have learned, and I tried to say this in one of the last hearings I did. Not even the politics of it. When you take an oath and you make a commitment, that is the only thing that protects our way of government is just people following through on their oath. Because there is no actual guardrails. They don't exist. There's no physical guardrails. It's people sticking to a commitment. And right now, until I get back into politics someday, I'm helping people that, Republican and Democrat, many more Democrats right now willing to do this, that are just willing to put the country over the party.
Well, you know the saying of Tip O'Neill that all politics is local, and we Biden say all politics is personal. And listen, I'm going to lump you in with my family because it sure does sound like all politics is personal to you, too. You practice what you, like your dad. Mm-hmm. You walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Thank you.
Can I switch over to some vacuous questions?
Sure. I like vacuous questions. Yeah.
What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
Police officer.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I'd like it for probably a year. I would love to be a cop.
That might be as hard as being in the house, for God's sakes.
I think it is.
One word to describe yourself.
Calm, I guess.
Calm.
I don't know if that's the right word, though.
No, it's clearly
I just felt
not.
like I felt pressure to say something. I would just say...
Well, how about balanced?
Balanced. That's a very balanced answer. I like that. Mm-hmm. Balanced.
Yeah. I'm a wordsmith, you know.
Good. Yeah, I'm not, obviously.
What's your favorite TV show?
My favorite one ever was Airwolf or The A-Team. Those are 80s shows.
I know.
Very good shows.
I mean, they're not my favorite, but...
And Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was a good one.
All right. How about favorite music?
I listen to chill. So if you go on like Spotify, I do like the chill playlist. That's what I fly to, and that's what I listen to even when I'm running and stuff. It's kind of like a little upbeat, but not like techno.
Can you dance?
Not at all. Well, my wife tells me I can. She's got the Latin blood. She's a very good dancer. I think she's just trying to be nice to me.
Well, she wants a partner out there because you don't want her to go out and get her own partner.
Yeah.
So you better learn to dance.
That is true. You know? And I'll tell you, after 3 drinks, I'm always better in my own mind.
Okay. Do you have a hidden talent?
I'm double jointed in my thumbs. I'd say that's about it.
That's not a hidden talent.
Everybody knows I can fly. That's kind of a talent.
You have your own plane.
Yeah, I do.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's the way I relax, and it's the way I get to places faster, obviously. So, no, any other hidden talent? I can't really think of any.
How about making people feel comfortable or uncomfortable when you need?
Oh, yeah, maybe that's true.
That's a pretty good talent,
yeah.
But still being civil.
Yeah, that's right. I think being able to
Do you want me to
look
answer
past.
these for you?
Yeah, thanks. We'll just switch here.
Okay. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility. You can get into any room, and not in like a creepy way.
But not be a voyeur.
No, not for like weird, creepy things, but just like you could do anything and nobody know you're there.
Okay, I'm going to take your word for it.
Because I can already fly, so.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, but you need a plane to fly. How about it? Could you, if you didn't have?
It would be weird because I'd be invisible flying a plane. It'd kind of creep everybody out.
Okay, you got me on that one. What's your favorite color?
It's blue.
Okay.
Everything I wear is blue all the time. I don't even mean to be. Case in point.
I mean, you're kind of leaning to the left with the blue, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
What's your birthday? Not your year, your day.
February 27th.
Which means you're a...
Pisces.
And do you put any stock in that? Anything?
Nope.
Nope.
What do you put any stock in that?
Well, I'm a Scorpio, so I like to think I'm fierce. Well, I am. You know, I'm a double Scorpio, so I don't want anybody messing with me.
Okay, maybe that does work for you. I'm a fish. I don't even know what a fish does. Swims, I guess. But.
Yeah, you could say you're a Scorpio and just kind of take
make
on
it out, whatever the coolest one is.
Yeah, Scorpio.
Okay.
What's your theme song?
This is funny. Radioactive by Imagine Dragons.
Now, I don't know that.
It's a great song. And the last 2 years, just because of everything going on and my role in the party, I'm like, if I had to walk out music, it would be Radioactive by Imagine Dragons.
I am going to check it out as soon as we finish here. And I want to thank you for being here. You're a great guest, and I mean it in all sincerity. You are exactly the kind of man of character and integrity that we need in America to save our democracy. And you put yourself on the line.
Thank you.
And that took a lot of courage.
And may I say to your family as well, the many years of public service, obviously the president healing the nation, and my appreciation to the Bidens.
Thank you. And thank you to our partners, the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. And remember, all politics is personal.